Welcome. Whew. You know, the past couple days, there's been something moving through me, shifting. And this evening, I stood up and I walked by my mic, and it was like pulling me. It was like asking for me to speak on this because I know that if I'm experiencing it, there's others experiencing this too. And I think most are in a period of transition right now. I think we are each individually maybe experiencing different transitions, different moments, integrating different experiences. But I think holistically, we're transforming. And something that comes along with transformation that cannot be taught. It's a skill. I believe it is a skill. And it is a practice, and it is an art of devotion. Is how we move through our transitions. There is a level of trust and surrender through every single transition that we experience, no matter how big or how small, no matter if it's happening within us or outside of us, right? And no matter how many transitions I've been through, because I've been through so many. I think so many of us have, right? No matter how many transitions and transformations I move through, I'm continually brought to my knees with this level of trust and surrender. And I'm seeing this image of somebody trust falling backwards, right? Complete surrender. The unknown. And when something is so unknown, our minds like to place things in that unknown, right? If this is unknown, then of course my past experiences of this might be all that I know to expect. But I'm hearing that is changing, that is shifting, that our past is no longer dictating our present and our future. Especially if you have been like alchemizing, healing, evolving, shifting into this next era, like holding this frequency, stepping into this new era that so many of us are stepping into. Like, your past is no longer going to dictate your present and your future unless you give it power to. Ooh, oh my gosh, unless you give it power to. So this weekend, I was feeling anxious. I was feeling that sense of, wow, there's this wind beneath my wings, and there's so many shifting, and how grateful I am in this moment of my life that all of these shifts are really good shifts, right? Because I've been through a period the last 5 or 6 years where these shifts and transformations, where a lot of it were out of what felt like out of my control. Like, a lot of them were really intense, and some of them were highly traumatic experiences. But even when we move through transitions that we know may not be that way, they might feel good, right? You might be stepping into these new aspects of what you're being called into, doing new things, meeting new people, going new places, moving, whatever it might be. It doesn't mean like I'm seeing this little person creeping in, like, hey, creeping in and trying to almost not sabotage this, but bring in fear, bring in the discomfort that is often experienced when we are trust falling into the unknown, So I feel, and I know all of us on this path are really having to deepen into not only this trust within ourselves, but this trust within God. And I am reminded that no matter what, I am always safe. I am always guided. I am always on this path where I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. And not to bypass the experience, right? But again, that's deepening into this devotion of trust in the process. Really. So I wrote some notes down. And yeah, how much deeper can I trust in God and my path? That's what I wrote. How much deeper? And I feel like each time that I do, I can more easily trust in it when I'm met with that again. And I think every day we're met with having to trust our path, right? Every day we wake up, it's unknown. Every single day you wake up, your next moment is unknown. You can plan, you can create, but essentially this moment is unknown. I can't dictate or foresee exactly how it will go, but I can have an insight. I can have a preparation. So every day, if we start walking with our soul, walking with God, walking with that devotion, it makes it so that when those big transitions arise, might not necessarily make them easy, but we have this practice, right? And so I think it really is. It's like this recalibration to this new frequency that we're stepping into, because it's asking us to trust. It's asking us to be more present and surrender, right? The way that we're creating is completely changing. Like creation in the old era was very much like do, more. And if I go from point A to point Z, that's how I get there. It was very logical, very linear, because time and space was moving at a more dense reality. So it appeared to move linear, right? And also because our awareness only knew what it knew, right, at that time. I only knew that, hey, I go to college and I get this job, and then I do this, and then I do that, and then I do that. That's what my awareness knew at the time. But now, now that we're stepping into this new era, this new frequency, this new dimension of consciousness, creation is changing. And I've been hearing this for years. This creation codes are amplifying. We're creating more in the present moment, right? And because we're in less dense of a frequency, we're able to create faster, right? It seems like things might just kind of fall into your lap. Synchronicities, telepathy, right? These are all now the new normal when you start embodying this. And in order to step into this new era, right, this next dimension, it comes with letting go of all those dense things that we've been holding on to, right? Like we cannot bring them with us. The only way is through to the other side. So yeah, that alone is a huge transition. The biggest. So I think that, yeah, it's really like our nervous systems are recalibrating to being and living and creating in these new realities. And we have moments or days or weeks where we're fully in it. And then we have moments or days or weeks where we are fully not. And that's okay. It's like a recalibration. It doesn't happen overnight, right? But at least I noticed that the more that I am in this embodiment, I can hold it longer. But it doesn't mean that my old fears don't arise. This is quite personal, but like today, this morning, I was in my bed and I was crying. It was just like coming through so strong. And at one point, I just kept saying, like, I'm safe. Like, there's literally nothing for me to worry about. And I put my body into the seed pose where I brought my knees to my chest and I wrapped my arms around me and I just like held myself and I cried. And it was like this image of like little girl Chelsea was all I could see. And I was just holding myself. And I don't think that we always have to hold ourselves. I think that it's important that we also are with people who can also hold us too, you know? But there really was this level of like, oh wow, like this is a lot on my nervous system. This is a lot on my Chelsea. This is a lot. And I said it out loud. I said, this is a lot. But I also knew that I'm safe through these transitions, right? Because all the fears that were arising were not actually true. Every single fear that I was feeling was because of a trauma that I'd experienced in my past or a what if hypothetical, right? And, you know, it's like, as I was met with those feelings, I also knew that they were false, right? And so it's like you hear people say like, oh, beware of your thoughts. You're creating your reality, which is true. We are. And also, I do believe that our thoughts are thoughts. And if they come in and we also know with our awareness as this observer, as we know, like actually this thought isn't true. It's just a thought. It doesn't have power over you. Doesn't mean that you don't still feel the feelings of it, but it doesn't have the same power over you and you can move through that, right? So yeah, it's like really trust falling, you know, into these new experiences. Every single person I know is moving through a transformation of some sort. Even those who don't even realize it. You know, every single intuitive reading I've done recently is the messages have been like your soul is wanting to take the lead. You know, everyone's feeling that call. Well, I shouldn't say everyone, but those of us who are walking this path, no matter what stage you're in, no matter if you're hearing the calls or just beginning to hear those calls now, or whether you've been on this path for years, like we're all deepening into this, no matter how long you've been walking this soul-led path. Trust in the redirection, right? The trust fall in the redirection. That's big. That's big. New opportunities. Maybe it's a new job. You know? Maybe it's opening your heart after heartbreak. Or if you're anything like me, after multiple multiple consecutive heartbreaks. Right? Moving through tough times, through loss, through grief. But I do know that through every transition, there's always another side. Through every dark night of the soul, there is always another side. And through every tough day where you're just in seed pose and you're in your bed and you're crying, the next day, at least for myself, I'm like, I feel a million times better. And it's because I allowed myself to feel it and I allowed myself to move through it. And that is this process of alchemy, right? So it's like our minds can overcomplicate, right? Our minds. And I think that it's a real skill of like understanding, like, wait. Is this truth or is this my mind formulating a concept that's not even real? And that is major. Some people do live their entire lives in this more safe, linear, planned out orchestration. And that's their path, maybe. Or maybe it's maybe it's necessary to create a sense of balance in this world energetically. But yeah, there's some people who live these very safe linear lives, and then there's some of us souls who we came here to cross these thresholds. We came here to birth a new world. Many of us came here with a mission. Maybe many of us came here as these cycle breakers, healing our lineage, our ancestral lineage, our families. Many of us came here to be the change, right? Like to literally move from fear to trust in a lifetime. Even that alone, right? To move from a closed to an open heart. To create a life that's lived from your soul rather than what others tell you or expect you to do societally, or maybe your family, when you know that that's actually not what's meant for you. And so, like, us souls who are on this path, it's like we will ride the waves. It doesn't come without its many transitions, its many waves. And so I'm seeing someone like putting armor on us, right? There's actually many mornings where I wake up and I can feel like this, and I feel like my soul's like putting armor on me. It's like protection, because it's like a lot of us are these like warrior souls, you know? Like we came here to do big things. And it is easy to get wrapped up in the overwhelm of that, right? It is easy to get wrapped up in the fear and the trauma. It's a part of the process, but we alchemize it, right? And we overcomplicate things. Because what wants to come through, I'm feeling it, it's like wanting to birth through us, is actually ease, spaciousness, simplicity, trust, flow, connection. Those are what's wanting to come through us, and all of this, any of this lingering stickiness, right? That's exactly what it is. It's not true. It's just a lingering stickiness that doesn't have to stay. So yeah, it's like this journey, this path. I think the greatest gift and the greatest like skill that we cultivate within it is our level of trust and surrender. And surrender, I don't know why, it's like surrender is not like neat and tidy with a bow. Like typically surrender is messy, right? Typically surrender, you're surrendering to what is, you know, but surrender is powerful. And it's not saying surrender of like letting life just kind of come to like letting life happen to you. I mean more so in the act of surrendering to your path. Surrendering to your path. You know, while you are experiencing, while you are co-creating, while you're healing, while you're trusting, while you're taking one step at a time, even though you might not see 5 steps ahead of you. That's surrender. And it's really profound, right? So yeah, you know, typically I don't feel like this quite as much anymore. I think I did like especially when I was going through a lot of my like transmutation and alchemy and healing. And now I feel like I'm kind of moving into this, not kind of, but I've moved into this next level of experience. And it doesn't mean that I still don't have those days of healing, right? But it doesn't have as much of a hold over me anymore. And I think that's because in this next chapter, for a lot of us who've been doing that healing and transmutation for so many years, now we're actually being asked to really be this way shower and this co-creator and anchor in this new frequency that's coming through us because we've lightened our load. And I'm just hearing, like I've been hearing, like it's not going to be hard forever. Like if you are in your dark nights of the soul, like it's not going to be that way forever. It's not. And it doesn't mean that we don't have these ebbs and flows and ride these waves of life and continue to evolve and grow. But this right now is like, this is like the climax. Like I'm seeing it. This is the climax, where it's like the threshold, I guess you could say, the threshold. So yeah. So if you're feeling it, it's like, yeah, surrendering to what you're feeling. Sometimes that's the best thing you can do, is just feel it all and know when it's time to start moving that. And, like today, after I was in seed pose, I got up and I went outside. I went in the rain, in a rain walk, and I put on some music and I make some food, and I come back to this present moment. And I know that this is what's real. At least what I perceive as real. But this, right here, right now, not the what ifs, not the trauma, not the fears, right? So I think that's all that wants to come through. Yeah. Whew. Sending you all so much love.